Marcus, I need to speak with you. Claire's voice was stiff, formal. She gestured toward the small meeting room near the elevators. When I stepped inside, I already knew HR was there. The door clicked shut like a sentence being finalized. We're restructuring the department, she said. Your role has been made redundant. Just like that. No thank you for your service. No acknowledgement of the 18 years I'd given them. Just a nod toward a cardboard box and a request to leave by the afternoon. My name's Marcus Delaney. I'm 56 years old. And until that moment, I was the backbone of the IT department at Novanex Systems. I'd survived 3 CEOs, 4 office relocations, 2 data center disasters, and 1 cyber attack that nearly tanked the entire company. Through it all, I stayed late, worked weekends, trained every new hire they threw at me. Never asked for a title bump. Never raised my voice. Just got the job done. But when the younger, flashier hires started pouring in, MBA types with buzzwords and buzz cuts, I could feel it. My usefulness had become invisible. I wasn't part of their future-proofing vision. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I nodded, picked up the box, and walked back to my desk. The stare started almost immediately. Some looked away. Others gave me that pity smile, the one that says, glad it's not me. I kept my head down and packed. My daughter's school photo, a ceramic mug from a company Christmas party, a worn-out mouse pad with drawing my son made in 3rd grade. As I slid my security badge onto the desk, I caught Claire watching me through the glass. No wave. No thank you. Just making sure the problem walked itself out the door. But here's what they didn't understand. I wasn't just some legacy guy taking up space. I was the one who built most of the system architecture they were still using. I'd written scripts so embedded into daily operations that no one even remembered they weren't native features. And when the legal team needed someone to quietly set up audit trails after a whistleblower incident 5 years ago, who do you think they called? Me. And I kept those records. All of them. Not out of spite. Just habit. Good IT guys like that, always backing things up, just in case. That night, I sat in my home office staring at the flash drives I kept in a fireproof safe. Andrea, my wife of 21 years, didn't say anything. She just brought me a coffee, squeezed my shoulder, and left me to think. They thought they erased me. What they didn't realize was that I'd always made copies. 6 months ago, everything started changing. Meetings were suddenly invite-only, and I wasn't invited. Project decisions were made behind closed doors. When I asked about updates to the system roadmap, Claire just smiled thinly and said, "We're shifting priorities." Then came Gavin Blake, the outside consultant, fresh off some expensive contract work at another firm that had downsized half its staff. He dressed like a tech CEO and spoke like a TED Talk. "Efficiency is evolution," he told the team one morning. "We need leaner systems, smarter pipelines." I smiled politely. I'd seen his type before. Lots of vision, very little understanding of how the real engine runs. When my admin credentials started getting quietly restricted, just 1 or 2 changes at first, I noticed, didn't raise any red flags. I just took notes. I also started running my own checks. Routine scans, logs, system pings. And that's when I noticed something odd. Monthly transfers to a vendor I'd never heard of, RevNet Consulting Group, always in even increments, always approved by the same people. No PO history, no service requests. I dug deeper. RevNet was registered just a year earlier, listed as a shared office space in downtown Chicago. The registered owner? A name that pinged a memory, Jacob Moore. I'd seen him at a company event. He wasn't a vendor. He was Claire's brother-in-law. That was the moment it shifted, from confusion to clarity, from hurt to strategy. I didn't send a dramatic email. I didn't threaten lawsuits. I started small. A tip-off to a junior analyst I trusted. Just a hint that something in the finance logs didn't look right. Then I waited. 3 days later, I got a text from him. "Hey, weird question. Have you ever heard of RevNet? I can't find a single support ticket from them." I replied, "Don't worry about it. Just watch." Next, I called an old friend, Deborah Lennox. She'd been Novanex's internal auditor until 3 years ago, before they pushed her out during a compliance reshuffle. We'd worked together on a quiet internal probe when someone tried to route funds through a side account for training expenses. She was sharp, and she owed me a favor. I sent her the files. 2 days later, she replied, "You've got something here. If you want this taken seriously, don't go to HR. They're under Claire." I already knew that. I had a different plan. Wednesday arrived, the same day Novinex was holding their quarterly board meeting. Financial updates, bonus approvals, future strategies. I drove downtown, parked 2 blocks from headquarters, and pulled out my laptop. I logged into a secure shell account, one that had never been associated with my real name. Years ago, I used it to test system vulnerabilities. The login credentials were buried behind layers of dummy scripts meant to mimic error messages. No one ever noticed them. At exactly 8:47 a.m., I sent the board a brief, anonymous message. Unusual financial patterns related to RevNet Consulting Group. Attached, logs, approvals, vendor background. Recommend audit before any bonus decisions are finalized. No accusations, no names, just breadcrumbs. By 10 a.m., I'd received 3 missed calls. One was from an unknown number. The other 2 were from Gavin Blake. I turned off the phone and went for a walk. At 11:15, Deborah called. "They're scrambling," she said. The board pulled Claire and the CFO into a closed session. Gavin tried to explain away, but someone recognized a RevNet address as a drop point. I asked, "Did they find the sibling connection?" "Not yet," she said, "but they're digging. That thing you found, Claire approving her brother-in-law's invoices? It's going to blow this whole thing open." I thanked her and hung up. Later that afternoon, I received a message on LinkedIn from the chairman of the board. "Marcus, would you be open to a meeting? I believe we may have misjudged the value of your contributions." I stared at it for a while, then closed the laptop. I wasn't finished yet. I didn't reply to the board chair's message right away. Instead, I spent Thursday morning organizing everything: system logs, internal emails, metadata trails. Every approval Claire had rubber stamped. Every inflated invoice Gavin had forwarded through back channels. All of it tied to RevNet. All of it traceable. By lunch, I had built a full dossier. Not just RevNet, but 2 other shell vendors. One registered to an address in Milwaukee that led to an abandoned laundromat. Another was listed under a different name entirely, Everform Dynamics, but its contact info matched Gavin's personal domain from a defunct startup he'd run 6 years ago. I stared at my screen, the weight of the evidence heavy in the air. They weren't just skimming. They were funneling hundreds of thousands out of the company, using the very systems I'd helped build. And they thought I'd walk away quietly. Andrea leaned against the office doorway with a sandwich in one hand, and that look on her face, the one she gave me whenever I got too deep into my own head. "You planning on blinking today?" she asked. "Working on something," I muttered. She set the plate beside me. They screwed with the wrong guy. She wasn't wrong. By Friday morning, Novinex was in quiet chaos. I got a ping from Jordan, one of the youngest engineers, still at the company. He didn't know the full picture, but he could feel the shift. "People are freaking out," he texted. Meeting after meeting. Security called in. Gavin didn't show up to the office. "CFO is out sick. What did you do?" I replied, "Just tested the fail-safes." Then I made my next move. Using a secure link, I uploaded everything to an encrypted server, one I could access from anywhere in the world. I wrote 2 emails, one addressed to the board, the other to a Chicago-based business journal with a reputation for corporate exposés. Both were scheduled to send Monday at 8 a.m. Unless I stopped them, I wouldn't. That afternoon, I finally responded to the board chair, Leonard. We met in a private conference room at a neutral location, a hotel business suite on Wacker Drive. He arrived with one other board member and their legal counsel. "No CO, no Gavin, no Claire. Smart move. Mr. Delaney," Leonard said, shaking my hand. "Thank you for agreeing to meet. I assume you reviewed the attachments." I replied. He nodded. "We have. They are troubling." and extensive. The lawyer cleared her throat. We'd like to understand your intention in bringing this to light. Is this about reinstatement, severance, litigation? No, I interrupted. I'm not here to negotiate. I'm here to make sure this never happens again. They looked at one another. Leonard leaned in. You want a position? I want oversight, not power. Protection for your employees, for your data, and for your integrity. You've been operating blind. Time to change that. I slid a folder across the table. Here's what I want. A new role, autonomous, reporting directly to the board. Full visibility into systems, vendors, transactions. I don't report to HR, the CFO, or IT leadership. You give me keys to the house. I make sure no one else robs you blind. Leonard flipped through the pages. You want to build a digital internal affairs unit. I want to build a firewall you can't buy from vendors like Gavin. The legal counsel frowned. This will require changes to the bylaws. Then change them, I said. They didn't agree to anything on the spot, but I knew I'd left a mark. That night, I got a call from Claire. Unknown number, but I recognized her voice instantly. Sharper than usual, tinged with forced calm. Marcus, I think we should talk. I waited. You've made some waves, she continued. Maybe more than you intended. You know how this works. Companies weather storms. But you don't want to be the guy remembered for burning bridges. I laughed softly. You fired me. I said, it was a decision made above me. You were in the room. A pause. There's a way forward, she said. Discretion, a consulting arrangement. We can backdate an NDA, offer you something generous, more than severance. You walk away clean. So do we? No, I said. You don't walk away. Then I hung up. Saturday morning, Andrea and I drove out to the lake. We hadn't done that in years. The fall air was crisp. The leaves scattered across the walking trails like confetti from a quiet celebration. I'm proud of you, she said. I didn't reply. Not because I doubted her. Because I wasn't sure how I felt yet. I wasn't angry anymore. Just resolved. I hadn't set out to burn anything down. But if exposing rot meant starting fires, then so be it. I checked my phone once. Just once. A text from Jordan. They pulled Gavin's clearance. CFO resigned. HR issued a company-wide policy update this morning. Claire's name wasn't on it. Then, word is the board's drafting new executive roles. With oversight. I put the phone away and looked at the lake. Let them run. Monday morning came clear and cold. At exactly 8 a.m., both emails went out. To the board, my final report annotated, indexed, and supported by third-party verification from Deborah. Every connection, every false vendor, every fraudulent payment documented and cross-referenced. To the press, a redacted version. No names, just evidence. Enough to spark interest. Enough to ensure accountability. By 8:23, my phone started ringing. I ignored them all. By 9:01, Leonard called. This time I picked up. Marcus, he said without preamble. We'd like you to return to Novinex. Not as an employee, as an executive. I waited. We're establishing a chief integrity officer position, reporting directly to the board. You'll have full investigative authority and a mandate to rebuild security infrastructure. He paused. You'll also be given a team. You pick them. Budget, yours to propose. Within reason. Veto power over vendor contracts? Yes. Permanent data access? Yes. And I don't report to anyone but the board. That's a condition. I said nothing for a long time. Then I'll consider it. But I won't come back quietly. Everyone needs to know exactly what happened. You'll have our full support, he said. No spin. Back at home, Andrea waited with 2 mugs of coffee. Big call, she asked. Bigger than I expected, I said. She smiled. So, you going back? I think I am, I said. Not because I owe them anything, but because I built part of that place. And if I don't clean it up, someone worse will take advantage again. She nodded. Then it's the right thing. The next day, I walked into Novinex's headquarters wearing a suit I hadn't worn since our 20th anniversary dinner. Security didn't recognize me. Until they did. The guard stood up a little straighter. "Mr. Delaney, welcome back." My new office was on the top floor, 2 doors down from a boardroom. Glass walls, clean desk, a whiteboard waiting to be filled, and a new plaque on the door, Chief Integrity Officer. Jordan and 2 other engineers I trusted were already waiting inside, looking nervous. I smiled. Let's get to work. 6 months later, Novanex looked different. The leadership had been gutted, the old rot scraped out and replaced with something newer, leaner, cautious, maybe even a little humbled. Gavin had vanished the day after the board meeting. His company laptop left in his office, screen still glowing. We later found out he'd flown to Costa Rica, then to Spain. But hiding didn't work. The Department of Justice had taken an interest, and an extradition order was already in process. The CFO, Alan Marquez, had resigned, but not before offering up a full confession. Turns out the RevNet scam wasn't his first trick. 2 other shell vendors had funneled money into fake consulting projects for almost 4 years. He named names, signed documents, handed over logins, in exchange for leniency, of course. Claire, she played coy for 2 weeks, claimed ignorance, blamed delegated approvals and operational oversight, but the logs I provided said otherwise. She'd personally signed off on over 30 separate payments tied to relatives and former clients. When the board confronted her, she went pale, asked for her lawyer, and never returned to the building. By February, all 3 were facing formal charges: wire fraud, tax evasion, breach of fiduciary duty. The works. And me? I was back in the building. But this time, they couldn't box me into a back office or forget my name during all-hands meetings. My email signature now included CIO, Chief Integrity Officer. I had access to everything. And more importantly, I had authority to act. My first move was internal. I created a division within IT called the Sentinel Team, not just engineers, but analysts, auditors, even a few legal consultants on retainer. Their only job: watch for anomalies, review vendor histories, run weekly pattern checks on expenses, and audit all user access logs. I hired people I trusted. Jordan got promoted immediately. He was sharp and fast, but more importantly, he cared. He remembered when I got walked out. That mattered. Next came Sarah, one of our procurement specialists who'd quietly flagged RevNet to her supervisor last year and got ignored. I made her our internal contracts monitor. She didn't miss a single detail. We didn't just fix the holes. We rewrote the manual. Every new contract now required dual validation. One from procurement, one from my office. All admin rights were now logged, time-stamped, and archived for 10 years. No more hidden approvals. No more shady vendors. If someone wanted to bring a consultant, they'd better have a paper trail. So, clean it squeaked. Not everyone was happy. There were whispers that I was too harsh, that things used to be simpler, that people felt watched. They weren't wrong. They were being watched. One senior VP joked in a meeting that I was turning Novanex into a corporate surveillance state. I smiled and handed him a USB stick. "On here," I said, "is the audit trail showing 5 separate contract approvals routed through your assistant's account without proper validation." His face changed fast. "Would you like me to go over them now or after the meeting?" He declined the offer. I didn't hear complaints from him again. Then came the press. The business journal that received my redacted file ran a series titled The Integrity Reckoning. It didn't name me, but insiders knew. The quiet guy who once sat near the back corner of the 3rd floor had brought down 3 executives and redesigned the company's ethics infrastructure from scratch. LinkedIn requests flooded in. Job offers. Interviews. Even speaking gigs. I ignored most of them. I wasn't interested in fame. But I did agree to one interview with a local tech podcast. The host asked me what it felt like to take revenge on people who discarded me. I paused for a long time before answering. It wasn't revenge, I said. It was restoration. The system was broken. I just reminded everyone what happens when you ignore the one person who knows where the wires connect. At home, Andrea noticed a change in me. You don't come home angry anymore, she said one night as we walked through the neighborhood. I'm not angry, I said. I'm focused. There's a difference. She smiled. It suits you. We sat on the porch as the sun went down, quiet for a while. I still think about that day, I said. When they let me go, how calm I was. You weren't calm, she replied. You were controlled. There's a difference. Spring arrived, and with it, closure. Gavin was extradited. The DOJ announced a settlement with him in exchange for testimony. He cooperated in prosecuting Claire and Alan. At the final board meeting of the quarter, Leonard stood up and acknowledged the transformation publicly. I want to recognize Marcus Delaney, he said, for not only saving us from millions in fraud, but for rebuilding something better in its place. There was a standing ovation. I nodded once and sat down. That night, as I looked over the final report from the forensic team, I noticed something. The estimated losses? $5.8 million. Exactly what I predicted. Not bad for an old infrastructure guy who wasn't invited to meetings anymore. A week later, something unexpected happened. I received an email from a startup in Austin offering me a C-level position. Chief Trust Officer. Huge salary. Full relocation. Team of my choosing. Tempting. I showed it to Andrea. You thinking about it? She asked. I shrugged. I don't know. I rebuilt Novinex. My work here is done in a way. She sipped her tea. Then maybe it's time to build something new. I didn't answer. Not yet. On my last Friday before taking vacation, I walked through the office alone, past the rows of servers I once maintained by hand, past the empty cubicle where Claire used to hold her strategy sinks, past the wall of awards we'd earned over the last few months for security excellence and corporate transparency. As I reached the elevator, I heard a voice. Hey, Marcus. It was Jordan, stepping out of the meeting room. You really leaving us? Just thinking about it. I said, you built this place up again. It'll feel different without you. I looked around. Good, I said. It should. On Monday morning, I posted a single line to LinkedIn. The most dangerous person in the room isn't the one shouting. It's the one watching, waiting, and documenting everything you thought no one noticed. Within minutes, the likes rolled in. By the end of the day, I had 3 new offers and a private message from a Fortune 500 board member asking for a conversation. But more importantly, I had peace. The bridge they burned had been rebuilt, not out of vengeance, but with steel and stone. Stronger, smarter, and this time, I laid every brick myself. I wasn't angry anymore. I was just ready, and in the end, I didn't need to shout. I didn't need revenge. I just did what I've always done. Solved the problem no one else saw coming. They underestimated me, but now they answered to me. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Drop a comment if you've ever been underestimated. Like the video if you believe in quiet strength. And don't forget to subscribe. We've got more stories just like this one coming soon. See you in the next one.